You're here because you want to make a change. The most important thing to really note when trying to make a change is that it doesn't happen like this. There's really more of a process when making a change. We call that the stage of change model. There are 5 different parts of the stage of change model. We have pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. This is really a cycle. It's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, check mark type of thing. You can relapse, you can go forward. It's a really never-ending cycle as well. Once you change your behavior, the cycle does not end. You could relapse and start back over or anything like that. We're really going to dive into the 5 different parts of stage of change model. The first one is pre-contemplation. In pre-contemplation, you have no intent to change your behavior. You really see no harm, and you see no reason to change. A lot of people are said to really underestimate the pros when looking in the pre-contemplation stage. It's easier to look past the pros of changing your behavior when you don't think there's anything wrong with your behavior at the moment. So people are said to be in this when they don't want to change. They don't think there's anything wrong with their behavior. They're not planning on moving forward. That is called the pre-contemplation stage. The next stage is called contemplation. This one is where people have realized, you know what, I need to start making a change. I need to start moving in a different behavior, or I need to start modifying my behavior and things like that. The biggest thing in the contemplation one is they use a lot of pros and a lot of cons. You look at, what would happen if I were to change my behavior? On both sides. What are the good? What is the bad? For example, smoking. What is the good if I change my behavior? I could be healthier. I might have more energy. My teeth and my gums and all of that will be healthier. The cons would be it's mentally and physically draining to, quit smoking. You're addicted to something. That might be your coping mechanism. So you would have to give up or, find a different coping mechanism. So that's something you would look at in that. So to move on from contemplation on to the next stage, you would really have to look at the pros and the cons and decide, you know what? I need to make a change. The pros are worth it. I'm going to change my actions. The next one would be preparation. Preparation is where you are getting ready to make those changes. You are making those small steps forward to getting to the behavior change. You've already decided that's what you want to do. Now you're going to decide how you're going to do it in this preparation phase. This is about a 30-day period where you are getting ready to transition into the next phase, which would be action. In the action phase, this is exactly what it says. You actually take action. You do things to change that behavior. You're not thinking about it anymore. You're not doing the pros and the cons. You really have this idea in your head about how you're going to change. For example, if I was to quit smoking, one of my action steps would probably be to, throw away my cigarettes would be one, or, stop buying cigarettes, or put the money that I would use on cigarettes into a jar, and just steps like that to start making the change. A couple of tips for the action stage would, number 1, be to make a plan. It's easy to get off course if you don't have a detailed plan. If you don't have, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this to stop my action or to change my action. If you just go in with, hey, I want to stop smoking, and I really have no plan to do so, it would make it really difficult to stay on track. Another tip for action would be to get a support system. It's really tough to make a change when you're doing it alone without some encouragement, without some support and things like that. So the action stage is really where you need that support system come in. It's very easy to relapse in this stage. It's very easy to go back and say, you know what, never mind, I don't want to change my behavior. I'm not going to do the actions needed to move on. So that's why it's so important to have those people that can say, hey, you know what, keep going, you're doing great. This is why you decided to change in the first place. All that is very important. The next step is maintenance. In this maintenance, you have sustained this behavior for a while. You understand what needed to be done to make this change, and you have made that change. And now it is important to keep that change. This is actually where most relapses happen. People have made the change, and then they get back into their daily life. They kind of get back to normal, and that behavior starts to fade back to what it was. So you can relapse in this one. You can go from maintenance back to pre-contemplation or contemplation or anything like that. Once you've decided that the behavior was important, that doesn't mean you can't go back. So maintenance is really an important stage. One tip for maintenance would be to create goals. It's really important to Make sure you're not getting in a stagnant, hey, I did what I was supposed to do, now I'm here, now I'm done. You really want to make sure that you are kind of continuing to push yourself and to see your progress and to really reevaluate all the time. Make sure that you're not just kind of going through the motions anymore. Keep going. There's going to be ups and downs in the maintenance phase, but it's important to evaluate them and understand what they mean in your process. The next tip for this stage would definitely be to prepare coping strategies. You're changing a behavior that you were so used to, that you've done for a really long time. So there's going to be times where you're going to need to already have coping strategies ready. For example, if you stop smoking, that might have been a huge stress reliever for you. So since you're taking away a big stress reliever, you need to have another stress reliever ready to go, ready to, administer whenever you're feeling stressed, as a way to kind of equal out, hey, I used to smoke, well, instead now I'm going to do yoga. Or I used to smoke, now I'm going to take a walk. Things like that are really the coping strategies you need to have. When making a change, you can start and you can relapse at any point. You can move within this stage of change model, but it's really important to make sure that you understand each step of the process that you're on, because if you don't, then it's going to be really hard to judge how we're doing, or what process you're in, or at what point you're going to make that change. So those are the things you need to know when making a change. Good luck making your change.